Welcome to episode 3 of If You Stand Still, You Die, an OSTC podcast series, a discussion about AI, trading, and how we keep our edge. My name is Emily Oler, and I will be your host. I have 2 special guests joining me for this 5-part series. Rose Lucken, professor at University College London and founder of Educate Ventures. Joining her is Chris Jenkins, co-head of ZISHI. In this 3rd episode, we will be discussing trader behavior and AI. If you haven't heard our first 2 episodes, check them out to hear an introduction on AI from our experts and how ZISHI Adaptive was born. Stay tuned after our discussion to hear about what's coming up for episode 4. But now, let's get right into it. Our theme today is traders and AI, how it helps. So Chris, I'd really love to get you to touch on adaptive and how is it beneficial for our traders and why should they be excited about it and use it and really embrace this technology?
Yeah, sure. It's, as I've said many times, the purpose was always around ZISHI Adaptive is to, harness the power of AI by making use of the data that we have within OSTC to benefit the traders, to benefit the group, to make us a more competitive and business and a more successful business ultimately. And so, with the first year of working with Rose and her team, we really found out a lot about who we are as a business, how our traders interact with the markets. And when I say that, I don't mean, figuring out everyone's strategies and people's different approaches and all that. What I mean is actually on a grander scale about how they interact with the markets and their behaviors and the type of markets they trade, and seeing if we could ultimately see if there was any form of work we could do to really get the footprint of our traders and see, do we have very distinct groupings of traders, and through looking at their behaviors. And we very much found that we did, and we do, we've got, as it currently stands from the data we've looked at, 4 distinct behavioral groups. Where we found, that some groups like to trade very small areas of the curve of the markets they trade, but they want to trade multiple different products. We've got some that trade much wider proportions of the curves, but trade very fewer products. The length of time people will want to hold positions, the types of orders they use, the volatility of markets they trade and liquidity of markets that they trade. And for the first time, we've now seen that we can actually really group the traders that we analysed into 4 very distinct behavioural clusters. And I want to stress the point that actually we did that, or Rose's team did that, before they actually looked at performance. Right. So they clustered the traders without actually looking about how much money they'd made for themselves, or what their volume was. It was purely behavioral based. So the process after that was then saying, well, okay, now let's look at performance on top and see, is it completely random? Do we have, if you imagine we've got group 1, 2, 3, and 4, do we have, brilliant traders in group 4 as well as not very good traders who've left the company, and vice versa in all of the 4 groups? And actually what we found is, we found that in, just to make it oversimplify it, group 1 was the best performing group, and then group 2 the next, and 3 the next, and 4 the next. So all of a sudden we then had an empirical foundation from the data that gave us insight about how traders were behaving with the markets that correlated or gave an indication around performance. And so for us, that's a massive insight for us as a business, and particularly for when it is that we are looking to hire the next generation of traders, because we may not want to have all of group 1. It might seem like a stupid thing to say, but a load of group 1 might not all work that well together. And this is something we're investigating at the moment as well. What particular types of individuals and different groups could work best together? Now, trading is quite an individual process, obviously, but when groups first start, we take them on in cohorts. And so having what we call a kind of cohort maximization of the different individuals is again a really interesting thing for us to look at, to make sure that we can improve the overall success of cohorts, again to improve the success of the business. And so understanding that was the first step. Now, what we're doing right at this moment in 2020 is we are now developing a mentoring tool, which we've purposely have been creating with the help of managers such as Ryan Autumn from Swansea, Mikhail in Moscow, and Sam down in Brighton, where we have been getting their insight as well. I was a former office manager as well, but them being current, very important that we have their input, so that we can figure out what is it that we are trying to achieve by mentoring traders. How can we improve that from all levels of experience, from brand new to very experienced? And how can we do that at scale? Take advantage of the data that's being produced every single day, and get it condensed and analyzed using the power of AI to feed information in a more efficient way to our office managers and to the mentees, to again help them be better on both sides at their jobs, improve the mentees, being the traders, and increase the chances of them succeeding, but also for the mentors as well, the office managers, that they're really busy people. So if we can use AI to capture data, analyze data, and feed the most relevant and important information to the managers about their traders and perhaps support and help they might need, then ultimately that's a good thing. And that's what we're trying to achieve with the mentoring tool that we're building at the moment.
Amazing. So the mentoring tool, sorry, Rose, did you want to add to that?
No, I'm fine. I can talk more about the process, but do go on, Emily, and I'll come in when appropriate.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just wanted to say, this mentoring tool that's in development now, when can we sort of expect to see that, and what is it going to sort of focus on for the mentoring? Is it going to be more educational based, like trading, or is it going to be more soft skills, how to manage stress and things like that, or is it going to be a mixture of both?
So in answer to your first question, we're looking to launch the first version of it in early next year, hopefully in Q1. And it's at the beginning, it's going to be focusing on brand new traders. Mm-hmm. We have to start at that level to build it up and up and up. No, it won't necessarily be focusing on the softer side of the traders. It is very much going to be focused on the actual trading itself. Again, when we sat down, myself, Rose, and the team, we kind of came up with the principles that we wanted this tool to be, and we wanted it to be proactive and allow managers to be proactive, not reactive to things that are going on, and again really make their jobs easier and improve them and help them to be better and become better mentors, but also offer the opportunity to develop an office full of mentors, so that in future, if there are senior traders who perhaps want to go down a more mentoring route, that we'll be able to create that environment and that atmosphere, and have that environment where there will be a tool there that allows traders anywhere essentially within the OSTC business to mentor people if that's a route they wanted to go down. But first, the first version of the tool will very much be focusing on the trading itself and how they are doing in trading, and the areas that they perhaps need help and support on from their mentors.
So Rose, from your standpoint, I'd love to hear a little bit from you on that. How is this mentoring tool? Why is it exciting for you? And how did you come up with it together with Chris?
Absolutely. One of the things we often say when we're working with companies is that if you can pull together the right data, you're digging in rich soil and you can pull out some amazing things, but then the company has to be willing to act. And what's been brilliant about working with ZISHI and OSTC has been their thirst for understanding how they act on what the data is bringing them. And they've been very engaged in what we call the participatory design process that we've used. So, as Chris said previously, our team at Educate Ventures are not traders. And in designing this mentoring tool, what's been really important is that we've had multiple design sessions with Chris and his colleagues across the business, where we've worked with them to identify what the mentoring tool in its first version is going to do, and then moving forward, what each new version will bring in terms of additional features. So we've had co-design sessions where everybody works together to identify what's going to be most useful to the business. And that's brilliant for us as a team at Educate Ventures, because that gives us the best chance of designing something and implementing something that's going to be useful in the business. It's not a one-size-fits-all, because everybody has their own data, their own story. And it's really important that as you're designing applications like the mentoring tool, that you take that story into account and that the people in the business are part of that design team, because that way you build within the business additional skills and it helps with integrating the mentoring tool into the workplace. But if I think about what we've learned that we're trying to use within the design of this mentoring tool, yes, it's absolutely the way that we started off by profiling the behaviours of traders. And, we worked down from many behaviours to just those 4 behaviours that Chris told you about. And then we found that those behaviours were certainly linked to performance in a very significant way. And then what was interesting is that they were also linked to the cognitive abilities and the personality traits that we found in the different profiles of traders. So we had all of that information to use within the design of the mentoring tool. But then we need the additional context and the additional support from across the business as part of that design team to ensure that that first version of the mentoring tool provides something useful right from the outset. And then, yes, we'll build as we go forward to take advantage of the fact that we know how these different aspects of a trader, their behavior, their performance, their personality traits, their cognitive abilities, are all important in the way that they engage with the business. And we need to be able to make sure that we can help mentors engage with all of those different aspects. And in particular, as Chris was saying, that you end up with an office full of mentors because you see different people have different strengths and weaknesses that can be very complementary to each other in terms of supporting each other. So it's a really exciting opportunity to be building something with ZISHI, where we're all moving forward as we develop the different iterations of this mentoring tool.
Wonderful. So it seems like with all this data and all the cleaning of it, we're getting amazing applications out of it, which is very exciting. And I'm sure it will be very exciting for the new traders coming in, actually being able to learn about themselves, learn about trading and what to do right and what to do better and how to grow and how to move forward as a team.
And that's so important. You've hit the nail on the head. It's about helping them get to know about themselves. Because one of the amazing differences between artificial and human intelligence, and I think it's amazing because it's an amazing capacity within human intelligence is that we are capable of self-understanding, self-criticism, controlling our behaviors. If we feel our attention's being pulled away from what we're meant to be focusing on, we can learn to identify that and to pull it back. But whilst we're capable as humans in a way that AI systems of the current time are not, we actually are not naturally necessarily good at that. So it's really important to be able to help people to understand themselves better.
Incredible. Chris, anything else you want to let our traders know about this exciting mentoring tool that's coming up and what they should keep an eye out for?
We are going to be developing this out to be able to support more senior traders too, who will have completely different needs to a trader that's just first started and won't need, as we know, won't need the hand-holding that perhaps a brand new trader does. So it's a kind of constantly developing process and product, and we want it to be able to support all traders within OSTC, not just juniors, but obviously we have to start somewhere. And Emily, you raised a good point earlier. Through harnessing or making use of the data that we have, we're starting to create very practical and useful tools. And that's a really important point. It might sound obvious, but we're not just doing this for the sake of doing it, if that makes sense. We're doing it for a real reason, a real business purpose, which is to help office managers, to help traders, to help our HR division, and again hiring managers when it comes to hiring the next generation of traders. There's a real business purpose, not just AI seems like a really of the time thing to be talking about and involved in. Every year, we have a 3-year plan with Educate Ventures, and every year we are researching, developing, and then looking to deploy a new product. And it needs to do a job for us, and that's why Rose mentioned it there. Why we've got this real collaborative approach with many different office managers. And other members of the various teams around the business, because it's no good just we at ZISHI Adaptive creating a tool that we think might be useful, because when we deploy it, people might say, well, actually, no, that's not that's no use to us. So that's why we've got this collaborative approach going, which has also been an interesting thing in itself, and hearing what people find, what they'll find useful, what they won't find useful, so that hopefully we do end up with a tool that is a real value add to us as a business and comes back to that main point of helping us become a bigger and better and safer business to work in.
Amazing, exciting stuff. So Rose and Chris, thank you again for joining me. And for all of our listeners, please join us for the next episode, where we will be discussing ZISHI Adaptive, risk management, and capital deployment. Once again, I'm Emily Oler, and this was If You Stand Still, You Die, an OSTC podcast series.